Welcome back to the channel, coin lovers and collectors. Today we're diving deep into a legendary piece of American change. Let's get the sad art at top 6. First up, the 1971 D. Jefferson nickel, struck at the Denver Mint. You may have one sitting in an old jar, or maybe you've seen one in your pocket change and wondered, is it worth anything more than 5 cents? Why are some Jefferson nickels selling for reports of big money at auctions? And what makes the 1971 D so intriguing? Stick around, I'll walk you through its history, production, unusual errors, grading secrets, and the real-world market values today. In 1938, the United States Mint replaced the long-running Buffalo nickel with a new design honoring Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. The obverse features Jefferson's portrait, and the reverse showcases Monticello, his famous Virginia estate. This design, created by sculptor Felix, would go on to appear in circulation for more than half a century. By the early 1970s, the coin's design had become a familiar part of everyday American life. The nation was coming out of the turbulent 1960s, and inflation was creeping upward. Copper and nickel prices fluctuated, but the mint still struck the Jefferson nickel using its classic composition: 75% copper and 25% nickel, a non-silver blend that has been used since 1946. There was nothing glamorous about a 1971 nickel back then. It was everyday money, the kind that jingled in your pocket or bought you a soda at the corner store. The D Mint mark on the 1971 D Jefferson nickel stands for Denver, the U.S. Mint facility located in Colorado. Denver was a workhorse mint in the 1970s, known for mass-producing circulation coinage. In 1971, the combined U.S. economy required billions of circulating coins, and Denver responded accordingly. Tens of millions of Jefferson nickels rolled off presses, pushed out in huge quantities to banks and postal bags all across the United States. Because of the high production numbers, most 1971 D nickels have soft details, light scratches, or bag marks from transportation. They were designed to be used, not preserved. That's why collectors today place a much higher premium on coins in uncirculated or mint-state condition, where the portrait of Jefferson shows sharp hair details and the steps of Monticello appear crisp and well-defined. Here's the part everyone wants to know: value. For an ordinary circulated coin, one that clearly shows wear from years of pocket use, the value usually remains face value, 5 cents. Bills of sale, auction records, and grading companies are overwhelmingly consistent. Common worn examples are not rare. But when things get interesting is when we talk about 1. Mint state grades and above. 2. Full steps FS on the reverse of the Monticello. 3. Rare die varieties and striking errors. 1971 D nickel with sharp full steps, fully defined and unbroken lines on the stairs of Monticello, is extremely difficult to find. Because of the mint's pressure settings and die wear, most coins from that era did not strike with enough force to show those steps clearly. If a grading service like or NGC certifies a 1971 D in high mint state with full steps, FS, or better, prices jump dramatically. Serious collectors are willing to pay a premium because such coins represent the best preserved specimens from a massive production run. A second category of potential value lies in errors. These are mistakes made during minting, not damage from misuse. Examples that collectors care about include off-center strikes, design unnaturally shifted. Double dies, letters or numbers appear doubled. Clipped planchets, piece of the metal blank cut off. Struck through debris, foreign object pressed into the surface. If you find an authentic error, especially a dramatic one, it can multiply the value well above face value. Even a modest off-center strike can be worth several dollars to the right buyer. Severe examples, one's 30–70% off-center with complete details, can sell for tens or even hundreds of dollars depending on condition. The world of coin grading uses a scale. A coin graded is uncirculated but has marks or imperfections. A coin graded MS67 looks nearly flawless under magnification, crisp details, clean surfaces, and no distracting blemishes. Collectors of Jefferson nickels pay special attention to high hair detail around the top of Jefferson's head, smooth jaw and cheek surfaces, clean fields, the flat areas, and especially the Monticello reverse. Mint state full step examples are the rare elite. Third-party grading companies encapsulate such coins and track population reports. Supply is extremely thin at the high end, which pushes the value upward. Now let's answer the biggest question: what's a 1971 D Jefferson nickel worth in today's market? Backhand index pointing right circulated examples. Usually 5 cents, these are extremely common and millions exist. Backhand index pointing right brilliant uncirculated raw, not graded. Often 50 cents to a few dollars if very clean. Backhand index pointing right certified mint state without full steps. Prices can range from $10 to $50 depending on grade. Backhand index pointing right certified mint state with full steps plus or plus. Values can climb into the hundreds of dollars, and in rare high-end grades, auction results have reached four-figure territory. The more flawless, the rarer, the more steps visible on Monticello, the higher the price. The modern coin market rewards perfection. The 1971 D. Jefferson nickel may look ordinary, but history tells a different story. This coin represents the everyday money of American families in the early 70s, a time of economic pressure, cultural change, and a nation in transition. Most circulated examples will never be worth more than lunch money, but in exceptional condition, especially with strong full steps, your humble nickel can transform from pocket change into a collector's prize. If you've got a handful of old nickels at home, grab a magnifying glass and a lamp. Check the Monticello steps, look for sharp details, and see if you've been carrying a hidden treasure. And remember, before you sell anything, get it graded if it truly looks special. Next up in today's video, we're going to talk about a coin that most people overlook, something you may have in a jar under your car seat or an old pocket change. That's right, we're diving deep into the 1998 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark, minted in Philadelphia. You might be thinking it's just a regular nickel, but when it comes to coin collecting, even modern coins can surprise you with very real market value, especially if you know exactly what to look for. Sit back, relax, and let's explore the history, design, minting details, special varieties, and how much this coin is worth today. The Jefferson nickel was introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel. The U.S. Mint wanted a fresh design that honored America's third president, Thomas Jefferson, the author of the Declaration of Independence and the man behind the Louisiana Purchase. A national design competition was held, and the winner was artist Felix. His design featured a portrait of Jefferson on the obverse, and on the reverse, Jefferson's famous Virginia home, Monticello, a symbol of early American architecture and Jefferson's intellectual vision. The design stayed largely unchanged for over 65 years, from 1938 until 2003. That means the coin you see in your pocket in 1998 looks very similar to those minted decades earlier. This is important because collectors often overlook modern Jefferson nickels, thinking nothing special could exist after so many years, but they're wrong. In 1998, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 809 million Jefferson nickels. That's a huge number, so most of these coins are common. But here, the key, most of them circulated heavily. They went through vending machines, pocket change, cash registers, and years of use. That means finding one in pristine, high-grade condition is much harder than you might think. Even though the coin is relatively modern, collectors love high-grade examples because they represent survivors, coins that somehow escaped wear. The better the condition, especially when graded professionally, the more valuable the coin becomes. And when you start talking about full steps, the value can really jump. Look closely at the reverse side of the Jefferson nickel, the side with Monticello. At the bottom of the building, right above the denomination 5 cents, there are a series of steps. On most nickels, those steps are mushy, weakly struck, or worn down, but on a perfectly struck coin, you can clearly see all 5 or 6 complete steps separated with no breaks. This is what collectors call full steps, often abbreviated FS. Coins graded FS, FS, or higher are extremely collectible. The difference between a regular pocket nickel and a full steps mint state nickel could be hundreds of dollars in value. Let's talk money, because that's what everybody wants to know. For most 1998 P. Jefferson nickels that you find in everyday circulation, something scratched, dulled, or worn, the value is 5 cents, that's it. These coins were made for everyday use. But when you find one in uncirculated condition, especially a coin with sharp details and no scratches, things change. Mint State 6063 examples might sell for $1 to $3. Mint State 6465 examples can bring $5 to $15. Mint State 66 and above, especially with full steps, are where the value jumps. Some certified coins graded full steps have sold for over $200 $400, depending on the auction. The reason is rarity. It's extremely difficult to find a coin struck so perfectly that all those tiny steps remain sharp and complete. It comes down to strike quality. Most 1990s nickels were produced at high speed and without the goal of collector quality. The Philadelphia Mint focused on output millions and millions of coins. Therefore, a perfectly struck 1998 P nickel is like a small miracle. Collectors love the full steps designation because it proves that the coin not only survived in pristine condition, but it also left the mint with exceptional detail. It's one thing to find a shiny nickel. It's another to find one that looks laser-cut with crisp engineering-like lines on the steps of Monticello. When you combine scarcity plus flawless condition plus full steps designation, auction prices rise dramatically. If you're digging through your change right now, here's what to do. 1. Look at the mint mark. It should be a P, located to the right of Jefferson's portrait. 2. Check the reverse. Look at the steps on Monticello under magnification or with a jeweler's loupe. 3. Inspect for damage. Any scratches, dents, or worn areas will lower value dramatically. 4. Compare to grading standards. If you believe you have something special, consider sending it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. Remember, the highest prices always come from professionally graded coins, not just nice-looking change. The 1998 P. Jefferson nickel is a perfect example of why coin collecting is exciting. Something so ordinary, something you might ignore, can tell a story connecting U.S. history, minting technology, art, and value. Most of these coins are worth only face value, but a tiny percentage, preserved by accident or collected by someone with a good eye, can be worth dozens or even hundreds of dollars. So next time you look into your pocket or pick through old change, don't overlook those nickels. You never know, you might be holding a hidden gem. Next up today, we're diving into a coin that the majority of Americans have seen in pocket change, but very few have thought twice about. It's the 5-cent Jefferson nickel minted in Denver in the year 1990, also known as the 1990 D. Jefferson nickel. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary coin, maybe a bit dirty or worn from circulation, but the history behind it is long, and in some cases, its current market value can surprise you. Let's start with the coin itself. On the obverse, the front, you'll see the profile of the third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, facing left. This portrait was designed by sculptor Felix Schlag, the artist whose work won the original 1938 mint design competition for the Jefferson nickel. Just below Jefferson's portrait, you'll find the mint mark. For the 1990 Denver Mint coin, that's a crisp letter D, usually located to the right of Jefferson, just beneath the date. When you pick one up today in dirty or circulated condition, that little letter is your key to where it was born, at the Denver Mint. Flip the coin over and you're greeted by the image of Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home. Schlag's original design wasn't just decorative, it was meant as a tribute to Jefferson's intellect, his dedication to architecture, and his deep involvement in shaping early America. Under the building, you'll often see 3 lines of text: Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America, along with the motto EPLURIBUS UNUM above. It's a compact piece of national pride minted into copper-nickel alloy, 75% copper, 25% nickel, giving the coin its unique silvery tone. To understand the 1990 D nickel, we have to briefly explore the history of the Jefferson nickel itself. Introduced in 1938, the Jefferson nickel replaced the beloved Buffalo nickel. The design stayed virtually unchanged for over 6 decades. The only period where a major change occurred was during World War II, when nickel metal was needed for war production. From 1942 to 1945, these coins were minted in silver and bore a large mint mark above Monticello. After the war, the mint returned to the copper-nickel alloy, and by the late 1980s, hundreds of millions of nickels were produced every year to service America's booming economy. The year 1990 was no exception. The Denver Mint created a massive number of these coins, hundreds of millions, making the 1990 D. Jefferson nickel a common circulation coin. Millions were spent, dropped, carried in wallets, and slowly weathered by everyday life. If you find one today in dirty or heavily circulated condition, it almost certainly lived an ordinary working-class life. Vending machines, grocery stores, school lunches, gas stations, and countless human hands. So why do collectors talk about the 1990 D nickel? Well, most everyday examples are only worth face value 5 cents. Even in the coin market, a heavily circulated dirty example typically has no premium, but scarcity isn't the only force in collecting. Condition matters a lot. Coins graded MS, mint state, and preserved from the day they were minted can command significantly higher prices. A 1990 D in MS66 or MS67 with sharp details and shimmering luster can bring strong bids in the collector market. Also important are error coins. The world of mint mistakes fascinates collectors, and 1990 nickels are no different. Things like a misaligned strike, a double die on the lettering, or a planchet flaw can transform a 5-cent piece into something worth dozens or even hundreds of dollars. Rarity is rare, and when a true mint error emerges, it becomes a coin with a story. Now let's talk about the common question: what is the market value today? If your 1990D nickel is dirty, worn, scratched, or circulated, it is most likely worth 5 cents, no more. Most of the millions produced are still out there, sitting in spare change jars or quietly traveling from person to person. The value only changes when the coin displays near-perfect preservation, or when it can be authenticated as a genuine mint error. For example, a high-grade professionally certified specimen graded by companies like PCGS or NGC has sold for considerably more at auctions. But that requires the coin to be uncirculated with strong surfaces and minimal marks. A dirty example found in a drawer or coin jar is a piece of history, yes, but not a hidden treasure. Even if your 1990D Jefferson nickel isn't valuable in dollars, it still holds value in another way. It's a survivor of America's past 30-plus years. It has witnessed economic cycles, technological change, and millions of everyday moments. The Jefferson nickel is one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history, and the 1990D is part of that legacy. From the simplicity of Felix Schlag's original vision to the way American society has passed these coins hand to hand, this humble 5-cent piece links us to the early days of the Republic and to each other. So next time you find a 1990D Jefferson nickel, whether it's shiny or covered in decades of pocket dust, pause for a moment. Think about the journey it took to reach you. And if you're lucky enough to discover one in pristine condition or with a true mint error, you might just have something special on your hands. Next up today, we're diving into a coin that most people have seen thousands of times without ever giving it a second thought: the Jefferson nickel. But not just any Jefferson nickel, we're focusing on the 1989D issue from the Denver Mint. You might think this coin is ordinary, boring, common, something you'd toss into a change jar. But under the right circumstances, this everyday 5-cent piece can be worth far more than its face value. We'll explore its history, how it fits into the Jefferson nickel series, what makes some examples so valuable, and how collectors judge condition, rarity, and market prices today. To understand the 1989D nickel, we have to step back to the origins of the entire design. The Jefferson nickel was introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel. The U.S. Mint held an open design contest with a $1,000 prize, a good amount of money during the Great Depression. The winning entry came from German-American sculptor Felix. His design featured President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, looking left with the word liberty and the date. On the reverse, depicted Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia home, with the Latin-style building name above the denomination 5 cents and United States of America below. The design would stay mostly unchanged for decades, becoming one of the most familiar coins in American pockets. The only major wartime exception came during World War II, when the mint substituted silver, manganese, and copper alloy to save nickel metal for military use. Otherwise, the nickel remained 75% copper and 25% nickel, struck every year for commerce. Fast forward to the late 1980s. Coins of this era were not produced with collectors in mind, they were mass-produced for daily transactions. By 1989, Americans used nickels constantly in vending machines, payphones, laundromats, and arcades. Because of the scale of use, the mint struck huge quantities. Denver, which typically strikes circulation coinage, produced more than 563 million nickels in 1989. That means the average 1989D nickel is extremely common. Billions of them circulated through pockets, stores, banks, and change jars. But here's the amazing part: even among hundreds of millions of coins, a tiny handful survive in pristine condition, untouched, perfectly struck, preserved as if time stopped the moment they left the mint. And those are the nickels collectors are hunting. Let's be clear, a normal worn 1989D nickel is worth only 5 cents, just $0.05. Even a nicer circulated example might only be worth a few cents above face value. The real value comes from quality, rarity, and mistakes. Collectors look for high mint state grades or better. These are nickels that look nearly flawless, sharp edges, no scratches, no wear. Full steps FS designation. This refers to the lines on Monticello's steps. If every step is clean and separate, no wear, no weak strike, the coin earns the full steps label. These are incredibly scarce and valuable. Mint errors and varieties. Things like off-center strikes, die cracks, missing steps, or major misalignments. Some errors create unique one-of-a-kind coins. How much can it be worth today? In today's collector market, prices vary widely. Circulated coins still 5 cents, nothing special. Mint condition but ungraded, maybe 25 cents to a couple dollars. Graded MS65, $10 to $25 depending on eye appeal and clean surfaces. Graded $50 to $100 or more. Full steps examples or higher, these are where big money lives. A certified high-grade full steps 1989D nickel can sell into the hundreds of dollars at auction, sometimes more when two collectors fight for the same coin. The very best examples, sharp strike, no marks, strong mint luster, are incredibly rare. Think about it, most nickels from 1989 ended up in soda machines, cookie jars, car washes, and pockets. Almost none were pulled fresh from rolls and stored safely. That lack of preservation is what makes ultra-high-grade coins extremely valuable. If you're holding a 1989D nickel in your hand, start by checking the following. The mint mark, look on the right of Jefferson's portrait near the rim. A small D indicates Denver. Surface condition, any scratches, dullness, or wear dramatically lower value. Steps on Monticello, count the horizontal lines. Are they clean and separate? The more complete the better. Strike quality, look at Jefferson's hair, cheekbone, jawline, collar, crisp details equal better grade. Color and luster, original mint shine is valuable, dull or grayed out coins are usually circulated. If you believe your coin might be special, professional grading from services like or NGC can turn it into a certified collectible with verified market value. Many new collectors ask, why do people collect new coins? Shouldn't old coins be more valuable? The truth is, age doesn't automatically equal rarity. Millions of antique coins exist, but only a very small fraction of modern coins exist in near-perfect condition. The scarcity of perfection is what drives price. Think of it like baseball cards. A common card might be worth pennies, but a perfectly preserved example in gem condition can bring big money. Coins work exactly the same way. So the next time you look at a handful of change, remember this. That ordinary 1989D nickel born in the Denver Mint over 3 decades ago is part of a living monetary history. Most examples are just pocket change, but hidden among them could be a gem-grade specimen with strong luster, perfect steps, and the kind of rarity that makes collectors bid fiercely. If you've got one, don't rush to spend it. Study it, protect it, and if it looks pristine, consider sending it in for grading. That humble 5-cent piece might surprise you. Until then, happy collecting and good luck on your next treasure hunt. Next up today, we're diving into a surprising coin that many people overlook. A simple, everyday piece of pocket change that might just be worth far more than 5 cents. I'm talking about the 1991 Jefferson nickel, produced at the Philadelphia Mint. If you think a modern nickel can't be valuable, you might want to watch this video until the end. We'll look at its history, design varieties, and why some examples can sell for hundreds of dollars. The Jefferson nickel has been circulating in America since 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The design was created by sculptor Felix, who won a national competition hosted by the Treasury. The obverse of the coin shows Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States and author of the Declaration of Independence. The reverse shows Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia. This design stayed nearly unchanged for decades, becoming one of the most recognizable coins in U.S. history. Unlike many modern commemorative-style coins, the nickel remained a symbol of classic American design, stability, and national identity. Millions handled it daily, from lunch counters to vending machines, without realizing that certain dates and mint marks could become valuable treasures. The year 1991 was not a particularly dramatic one in the history of coin minting, but the Philadelphia Mint produced a massive number of nickels, over 600 million coins. This means most 1991 Jefferson nickels are extremely common. However, that does not mean they're worthless. In coin collecting, rarity isn't only about how many coins were made, it's also about how many survive in high grades. Most nickels from the early 1990s circulated heavily. They were used, worn, scratched, dinged, and tossed around in pockets and registers. Finding a truly mint state, pristine example is surprisingly difficult. This is especially true in grades MS66, MS67 or higher, which can command strong prices in today's market. The 1991 nickel has the P mint mark on the obverse, just behind Jefferson's ponytail. Philadelphia had only recently begun using mint marks on nickels, starting in 1980. Before that, Philadelphia-issued nickels had no mint mark at all. This means the P is a sign of a more modern era in U.S. minting. For many hobbyists, this little letter is their first clue that they're looking at a post-1980 coin. Without it, the 1991 nickel would be much harder to identify and much more confusing to collectors. This is where things get interesting. If you have a circulated 1991 P nickel, meaning a normal one found in change, it will almost always be worth 5 cents. Some dealers may pay 10 to 25 cents if it is in better than average condition. But the story changes completely when you look at uncirculated, mint state examples. A 1991 P graded, or can sell for $3 to $15, can reach $30 to $75. MS-67 or better becomes extremely scarce and can sell for hundreds of dollars, depending on eye appeal and the grading service. The reason the value jumps so dramatically at high grades is simple. Most nickels strike poorly with weak details on Jefferson's hair, cheek, and Monticello's steps. Finding a well-struck, perfectly preserved example is incredibly difficult when collectors see one bidding spikes. Like many coins produced in the billions, the 1991 P Jefferson nickel has some known errors. These include things like off-center strikes, die cracks, weak strikes, and laminations. Error collecting is its own fascinating branch of the hobby, because errors aren't mistakes, they're snapshots of what went wrong during minting. A noticeable off-center strike showing more than 20% misalignment can fetch anywhere between $15 and $100 depending on severity. A dramatic die clash or major lamination peel error might go even higher. These are the kinds of coins collectors pay attention to because no two error coins are exactly alike. If you want to find a valuable 1991 P nickel, don't just look at the date. You want to look at the condition and strike quality. A powerful light can reveal tiny scratches or bag marks. Rotate the coin slowly. A high-grade nickel will show crisp details, strong luster, and no ugly marks. Check the steps on Monticello. Coins with clear steps are known as FS full steps. FS examples are significantly rarer and often command premium prices. In some extreme cases, full-step 1991 P nickels have sold for well over $100 to even $500, especially in or. If you find a 1991 P nickel that looks sharp, has little or no wear, and has no heavy scratches, it might be worth grading. Third-party grading services like an NGC offer certification and authentication. But keep this in mind, grading costs money. Typically $30 to $60 per submission, sometimes more. If your coin is only a nice example worth $10 or $20, grading won't be worth it. But if it looks exceptional, especially with full steps or perfect luster, you might have something special. Many collectors send in rolls of nickels hopping to find the one. The 1991 P Jefferson nickel probably sits unnoticed in millions of junk drawers, glove compartments, piggy banks, and boxes of random coins. To most people, it's just another 5-cent piece. But to collectors, it represents the perfect storm. A high-mintage coin from a modern era that becomes dramatically valuable when found in elite condition. That gap between everyday change and collectible treasure is what makes coin collecting so exciting. The next time you handle your pocket change, remember, history isn't just in museums, it's sitting right in your hand. Next up, we're diving deep into one of the most underrated modern U.S. coins, the 1992 P Jefferson nickel. Most people pass nickels without a second thought, but some 1992 P examples can be worth far more than 5 cents. In this video, we'll walk through the history of the Jefferson nickel, how the Philadelphia Mint produced coins in 1992, why certain examples are valuable, and what collectors look for today. So sit back, relax, and let's explore the surprising world of the 1992 P Jefferson nickel. The Jefferson nickel began in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Sculptor Felix Schlag won the design competition, creating the now familiar portrait of President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his home, Monticello, on the reverse. The U.S. Mint kept this design almost unchanged until the early 2000s, giving the Jefferson nickel a long and historic run. During World War II, nickels used silver due to metal shortages, but by 1946 the composition returned to the standard formula, 75% copper and 25% nickel, which continues to this day. Over generations, the Jefferson nickel has been a quiet workhorse of American currency. Billions minted, millions exchanged daily, and countless pieces showing the subtle evolution of manufacturing quality. In 1992, the Philadelphia Mint, marked with a small p, produced hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels. At a glance, they aren't flashy. The year 1992 wasn't known for major design changes. But because they were mass-produced for circulation, most 1992 P coins show heavy wear, bag scratches, and dull surfaces. This is where collector demand comes in. High-grade examples are surprisingly scarce. The minting equipment of the early 1990s wasn't as refined as today, and weak strikes, especially on Jefferson's hair and the steps of Monticello, are extremely common. Finding a sharply struck, gem-quality 1992p is harder than many new collectors expect. When evaluating any 1992p Jefferson nickel, collectors typically look at four major features. A strong strike shows crisp details in Jefferson's hair and clear windows and railings on Monticello. Weak strikes are normal, so a strong one stands out. This is the holy grail of Jefferson nickel grading. If you can count 5 or 6 clean, unbroken steps at the base of Monticello, the coin may qualify for a full steps designation. It takes an exceptionally strong strike, and those examples are very scarce for 1992p luster and surface condition. Mint state coins with bright original luster and few marks are valuable. The fewer nicks and scuffs, the higher the grade. Errors and variants. Some 1992p nickels come with minting errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, cud breaks, or double dies on the lettering. Errors can raise a coin's value significantly. Let's talk money. Most 1992p nickels are only worth 5 cents, especially if they circulated normally. However, value changes dramatically with condition. Average circulated condition, 5 cents. Uncirculated mint state, to $1.03. High mint state, to $10.40 depending on I appeal. Full steps certified examples, $80 to several $100s. Major error coins, $50 to $500 plus depending on severity and rarity. Values can fluctuate over time due to auction results, grading population reports, and changes in collector interest. But the key point is this: finding a gem-quality 1992p Jefferson nickel is far harder than people think, and collectors pay accordingly. To inspect your 1992p nickel, use good lighting and a magnifying glass. Look at Jefferson's cheek and jawline for scratches, check Monticello for clear architectural details, and carefully look at the steps at the bottom. If the steps look complete and unbroken, don't clean the coin, store it safely, and consider sending it to grading services like our NGC. A raw coin that looks nice might only be worth a few dollars, but a certified full steps example can be a real winner. The 1992p Jefferson nickel is not the kind of coin you expect to be valuable, and that's exactly why it's exciting. Each time you dig through pocket change or a jar of coins, you're searching through billions, but one flawless example could be sitting right there. The story of this nickel reminds us that value isn't always tied to age or rarity of design. Sometimes it comes from the combination of mass production, subtle minting challenges, and collector patience. So check your change, look at your old rolls, and remember, the next valuable find could be the smallest coin in your hand. Next up today, we're diving into one of the most commonly overlooked modern circulation coins, the Jefferson nickel minted in 1996 with the Denver D mint mark. Many people look at this coin and see nothing more than a regular 5-cent piece. But like many coins in U.S. history, the real value lies in its story, its condition, and the subtle variations that collectors pay a surprising amount of money for. So, stay tuned as we journey through the history, the design, the mintage details, and why some 1996 D Jefferson nickels can sell for far more than just 5 cents in today's market. The Jefferson nickel has been a staple of American pocket change since 1938. Designed by Felix, the coin replaced the famous Buffalo nickel and introduced a portrait of America's third president, Thomas Jefferson. On the obverse, we see Jefferson looking left, a portrait inspired by a marble bust. The reverse shows an image of Monticello, Jefferson's iconic home in Virginia. Although simple, this design became a classic, so classic in fact that it remained virtually unchanged for 66 years, all the way up to 2004. The 1996 D nickel is a part of this long tradition, minted at the Denver Mint during the late 20th century, a time when the Jefferson nickel was still a true workhorse of U.S. currency. Millions of these coins passed through everyday hands, vending machines, grocery line change, and even coin jars at home, all carrying a subtle legacy of history with them. Now here, where things get interesting. For average circulated condition, a 1996 D nickel is typically worth face value, 5 cents. That means the coin you pull from a jar or find in loose change almost certainly won't make you rich. But the moment we step away from average circulation and look at grading, quality, rarity of condition, and special errors, the story changes dramatically. Uncirculated examples, especially those graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, can sell for several dollars each. High-grade mint state nickel, think MS65 or MS66 with beautiful luster, sharp detail and minimal marks, can reach values ranging from $10 to $50 depending on the market and collector demand. And those extremely high-end examples, MS67 or higher, can command even more. These are the kinds of coins that were saved from circulation early, stored carefully, and preserved in near-perfect condition. When collectors see these, they aren't just buying a nickel. They're buying rarity, quality, and the challenge of finding something nearly flawless in a sea of common pocket change. But rarity doesn't always come from condition. Sometimes minting errors create some of the most valuable examples of the 1996 D. Jefferson nickel. Errors such as off-center strikes, clip planchets, die cracks, or coins with missing metal layers can increase value dramatically. One dramatic example is a full step designation known as full steps or FS on the Monticello building on the reverse. Full steps nickels display sharp, uninterrupted lines on the stairs of Monticello, proving that the dies in the strike were crisp and powerful. These coins are difficult to find from the 1990s because of heavy production and worn dies. As a result, collectors actively seek them. A 1996 D with full steps, especially in mint state grades, can sell for far more than standard uncirculated coins, sometimes over $100 or more. This might surprise casual collectors, but the key is that detail matters. Every tiny line on those steps serves as a miniature testament to perfect minting conditions. The 1990s weren't a glamorous time for nickel collectors. These were years of mass production, and few people were saving rolls of nickels or treating them as future collectibles. That means many of the best specimens were spent, scratched, or worn down in circulation, never to enter the hands of collectors in pristine condition. That scarcity of high-grade survivors is what drives the value today. The 1996 D, like many coins from the 1990s, teaches us a powerful lesson. A coin doesn't need to be ancient, silver, or historically monumental to hold value. Sometimes, value is hidden in the simplicity of modern minting quality. So what does this mean for you today? If you're casually going through your pocket change or someone hands you a jar of old coins from the 1990s, don't overlook the nickels. If you spot the 1996 date, flip it over and look for the D mint mark near Monticello. Examine the portrait, check the luster, and especially inspect those Monticello steps. If they show sharp, crisp lines with no interruptions, you might just be holding a coin worth far more than 5 cents. If it looks perfect, bright, and untouched, it may be worth sending to a grading service. The difference between a common nickel and a valuable one often lies in just a few tiny details. And that's the story of the 1996 D. Jefferson nickel. An everyday coin with the potential for hidden value, a piece of history that connects everyday commerce to a deeper world of numismatic passion. Whether you're a serious collector or just someone who enjoys a good treasure hunt, remember, never underestimate the humble nickel. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into coin history, be sure to like the video, subscribe for more numismatic discoveries, and drop a comment letting me know which coin you'd like to explore next.